and welcome to the 10 New Rules of Career Success. My name is Anne-Marie. And for the next half an hour or so, we are going to talk about what you need to understand today in order to have the success and the satisfaction that you want in your career. I'm going to provide you with an incredible amount of information to get you really wrap your head on what's going on and what's happening. So when it comes to this particular masterclass, you'll know that you're in the right place if any of the following things sounds like you. I want you to go right down the list right now and tell me how many of these things sounds like you honestly. And if you've got even one of them, then know that you're in the right place and you're going to need this information because I promise you it's going to make a difference. So why did I create this specific masterclass? That's always a good question. And that's because, as I mentioned, we don't have this information. School taught us everything apart from how to get a job. And a lot of people don't realize that looking for work and building a career plan and a strategy is a skill. It is a skill and you need to develop it, you need to fine-tune it, especially when the rules are always changing. So I wanted to build something that has helped people understand what's going on today and how to make most out of it. The other thing that I thought was important in building this masterclass today was to help you understand that you're not alone. You're going to learn a lot today about the concept of business of one. You are a business of one, and that means that you are in business for yourself, but you don't have to be in business by yourself. And today I'm going to show you why it's so important for you to surround yourself with the right people, tools, and resources if you want to succeed in your career. And of course, I wanted to show people how to be more efficient in this process. There is nothing frustrating than feeling like your approach toward building your career isn't working. And so many people really feel that way. And in fact, if you're watching this masterclass and you're likely to be one of them, then know that you're going to need this information and you're in the right place. And so today I'm going to show you how to do a much better job and get better return of investment of your time and energy in building your career. Why are you going to stay this entire time? What are you going to learn? Well, first of all, you're going to talk about just how much being an employee has changed over the last 200 years. I'm going to give you a history lesson, but I promise you, you're going to enjoy it because you're going to have some movie references in it, and if you love movies, you really enjoy it. And I'm going to help you understand just how far we've come and what you need to know about your job as an employee. Today, we are also going to introduce to you a concept called professional emancipation. We're going to talk about those golden handcuffs that you're wearing right now that making you feel unhappy in your job. An incredible number of people today are not satisfied in their job yet. And yet, we are living in a time that everyone should always be happy. So what's going on? Why do we feel so locked in? And what can we do about that? And of course, I'm going to walk you through the 10 new rules of career success and satisfaction. And these new rules are things that you have never heard before. But I promise you, once you hear them, a bad moment is going to go off and it's going to change the game for you going forward. And lastly, before we move into this, I also want to remind you, by investing your time and taking your time to listen to this today, we are going to give you something in return. But it's all the way till the end of this, and it's related to our products and services. And I promise you, you don't want to miss it because it is time sensitive. And you might think, hey, I'm crazy, but trust me, if you like what you'll hear today, you're going to want to hear more about this. And it's all the way till the end of this masterclass. All right, it's time to buckle in, and we are going to learn about how to build the strategies in today's world so that you can have the career and the success and the satisfaction that you always want and you truly deserve. So let's get started. So the first thing that I need to make it super clear to you is that the role of employee has changed, is transformed. And it has been doing it for over 200 years. So here is where the history lesson comes into play. And we are going to have some fun here. But what I want to show you is that a lot of our problems lie in the fact that we think that employees are a certain thing. But that's not true. And once you know that, you're going to be able to make some significant changes in a strategy. Employment just in the last 10 years has changed dramatically. But most people don't even know that. And so today, we are going to get some content to help you understand what you need to do to compete today. To give you an example, think about technology changes that have occurred I mean, just 100 years ago, we didn't have things like LinkedIn to help us in our job search. We didn't even have job boards and technologies. All these came around 20 years ago, but we weren't even using them to the full extent until the last 10 years. This technological advancement may sound amazing, and we might think they were supposed to make our lives easier, but they were actually made it more challenging. So with that in mind, let's take a look at the history of employees' evolution. So we are going to start with colonization. There are a couple of things that you need to know that happened in the 16th and in the 17th. This is where everyone was a laborer. They used to work from dusk till dawn. It was a day-to-day survival. It was just about getting food on the table and to stay alive. They were self-employed. They were skilled workers. You had a task, but maybe your family had a generation of workers in a particular skill set or a task. And that is what they were known for. To give you some examples of movies and shows that talk about colonization, we have movies like John Adams, The Patriot, and even Gone with the Wind. If you watch any of these films, you're going to see colonization at its best. So now let's move on to industrialization, which happened between the 17th and the 18th. So this is when employment classes first came into play. Employment classes. Very interesting concept right there. So we had three classes. We had the wealthy industrials, and they were introduced and they were making all this money. And then there were the prosperous middle class, and these were individuals that were working for the industrialists. But then we also had the lower class as well. So we had this multiple class system, and it was the first time ever experienced that. The other thing that was really interesting is that they were not employed full-time throughout the year. Most individuals were employed seasonally depending on the type of work that they did. And then we have some movies and shows that talk about industrialization. We have movies like Les Miserables, Gang of the New York, we have The Count of Monte Cristo, and then we have the Nicolas Negibai. And then we moved into unionization, which happened in the late 18th into the mid 19th. So this is when unions were actually formulated. Unions were there to fight for our rights. They were created to negotiate better pays, better working conditions, and things like that. And then opportunities for work started becoming more diverse, right, as things like communication and transportation. These all new technologies and new areas also came into play. And some examples of movies that show unionization, we have movies like The Suffragette, Newsies, Nomarai, and even Billy Elliot. Then we quickly moved into professionalization, say that word 3 times faster, which happens in the 19th and in the late 19th. This is where employees became educated. And this is a pivoted part. This is something that we are starting to get familiar in our lifetime. We remember professionalization. This was an expansion of an educated workforce. A lot of more people started getting degrees beyond high school, and they started getting specialized degrees in colleges and even in universities. The reason for that is that quickly we saw that people who had college degrees were earning 60% more than the people who didn't have. Also, we started to see businesses as they grew, created more administrative structures, a lot of more hierarchy within their businesses. And again, this was a huge expansion of various types of jobs that never existed before. This was really the introduction of the white-collar workforce as well. And some examples of movies that really talk about that, we have The Wall Street and The Madman, which led us to the present today, the early 2000s. Was the introduction of the specialization era. That's the era where we are in right now. And that's where you, my friend, just became a business of one. What happened in the last 30 years is that employees-employer contract was scrambled. The expectation that you had by being an employee, that is lifelong employment, professional development, growth, rises, promotion, all those were completely gone. And you became a business of one. You are a business of one who is in a relationship with a customer that can have its need change at any time. The other thing that happened right now that a lot of people don't realize is that unemployment is high. And you may think, how is it possible, Anne-Marie? But the reality is every job is temporal and people are switching job more frequent pace, which means that nowadays people have far more gap in their employment as they are looking for the next opportunities. Also, because we see a lot of more people going to colleges and graduating with degrees, now we have a huge amount of workforce that has been underutilized or underemployed, especially those recent college grads who don't have experience they need to be able to apply themselves for those high-level positions. Just to give you an idea, today's employees hold an average of 10 jobs between the ages of 18 and 44. So to give you an idea of this dynamic of specialization, we have movies like Moneyball, The Devil Wears, Branda, The Social Network. So what did this lead to? It led to the rise of employees' emancipation number. I talked about those golden handcuffs in the beginning of this session. It's time for us to break free. We want to break free from our employers. We don't want to report to anybody anymore. A lot has changed, and what we want out of work as an educated workforce, we have high expectations. We want to change the rules, and that's a great opportunity. We are increasingly dissatisfied with the constraint that we are having in this traditional form of working, and we want different things, and we are going to need to ask for them. Just to give you an idea, 84% of people right now want a new job. 84%, many people would rather work for themselves. And guess what? As I've mentioned, you are a business of one. You're working for yourself. You're a service provider who's partnering with those employers. And a lot of more people are choosing to do freelancing assignments and actually working multiple gigs in order to create the lifestyle that works for them. The funny thing is that we have essentially restarted the cycle. We have come all the way full cycle. When you go back all the way from colonization era, everyone had their specialty, their one job that they did. And all over a course of 200 years, we have come right back to it. The only difference is that back then our skills were a little bit more basic. Today we have much higher level skills, which we hope will be of more value. Okay, so now because we know that employment landscape has changed, which means we have to change as employee as well. So if we know that, we have to go to this employment thing differently. Then what you need to know are the 10 new rules for career success, and that's what I'm going to walk you through right now. So number one, I've already mentioned it several times, but it's such an important one, and that is you are not an employee. You are a business of one. You are a service provider and the employer is your customer. All of us are familiar with those types of partnership, even if you have never been in business for yourself. You have bought products and services from companies before. You want to understand what that partnership really means. You know what it looks like to really respect and trust your service provider. So if you understand those traits and how to develop them in yourselves, you're going to be able to market yourself a lot more effectively to employers. You are going to earn their respect. You're going to earn their trust. And most importantly, you're going to be able to negotiate for the things that you want to make it a win-win partnership. The second new rule is to not just play your strength, but call out your weaknesses. You don't want to say that you're a Jack and Jill of all trades. And that's because no employer buys that today. They're looking for a specialist. So you should always play the things that you're good at and also say the things that you're not good at so that you can be able to deliver value. But you should also be able to articulate what you don't do and what you don't want to do. There's nothing worse than getting into a job and finding out there is a bunch of tasks that you don't enjoy, only to watch that relationship crumble and you either quit or get laid off. That doesn't work for anyone. So knowing what you're good at, but also being able to tell them what you're not good at is a key. Number 3, and that is an important one, you are a commodity until proven otherwise. I cannot stress this enough. Employers are always looking at you and your return on investment, that is your ROI. So thinking of it in this way, they are always paying about 140% of your salary in order to employ you. And that's because the extra 40% are your benefits, onboard training, operational costs associated with you being there. So when you are thinking about an employer and convincing them that you are the right one that they should hire, you've got to talk about how you are going to save them or make them enough money to cover that cost. If you can't do that, then you are just like everybody else. And that doesn't give you any competitive advantage. The fourth rule is really simple. It's brand or be branded. So many people come to me and say, hey, I had this idea of personal branding. It sounds so full of myself. Well, let me give it to you in another way. It's called reputational management. You are a brand, you are a business of one, and you want to make sure that at all times the reputation of your brand is charring, is rock solid, because you never know when you're going to need to use that reputation to get you to another opportunity. Remember the start that 10 jobs between the ages of 18 and 44. Every job is temporal, and you've got to have a brand that you can mobilize at any given time. Number 5 is that your workplace persona is your value proposition. So I've talked about the fact that you have to be able to prove your worth and really say, hey, I'm going to more than justify the cost of hiring me. But if you don't understand what that looks like, the day-to-day job, the tasks that you should execute and how to execute them, then you're not going to be able to articulate that value to your employer. And they're not going to understand your brand at all. And so knowing your workplace persona is vital for you to be able to do that. Number 6 is being unmistakable. Is the new stand for excellence. So we live in a social media world, and everyone talks about authenticity and transparency and integrity, and that sounds all well and good. But the truth is, now we've been given a lot of education about how to present ourselves out there in the world, that we have to take it to the next level, and that is to be unmistakable. You need to be able to be very clear and intentional in everything that you put out there in the world, especially as it is related to your career. Whenever it's on social media, your resume, your LinkedIn profile, in your cover letter, or even in the interview answers, all of these need to be really defined and articulated in a consistent way. Number 7, your network is your net worth. 80% of all jobs, despite all these great technologies, are gotten via referrals. Someone who knows someone. And you know what? I don't know why you're surprised, because we are human beings and we are tribal by nature. We want to bring in people who we already know and trust. And so if you don't have a strong network, if you haven't served your network and they don't trust you and they don't respect you, you're not going to be able to tap into them when you need to. Number 8, you don't need to create as long as you create. So what do I mean by this? Well, one of the way of building your reputation is by curating content. And by that, I mean finding articles and videos and information related to your industry and skill set that you'll put out there in the world and sharing with people. When you share that information out there consistently, by default, your trust and respect level goes up with your network, because you're providing them with valuable resources. You are serving them with really important content, and they're learning from you, which means you are the teacher in that situation. Number 9, every job is temporary, and being just an employee is a dead-end career move. You know, these days, if you don't have a career strategy for every year that you're working, you are at a risk of losing that job. And that's because things are always changing. So when you start a job, that first day is when you should start to think about what you want out of that job and what the next role is going to be. A lot of people will come and say, oh no, that sounds so much work. Why can't I just work and think about that later? No, you can't. Too many people work in their job and not enough in their career strategy. But I tell you this, once you understand how to build a career strategy and execute it, it's far easier. As I mentioned in the beginning of this video, career strategy is a skill and you need to develop it. But just like everything else, once you build those muscles up, you can almost do it without thinking about it. And number 10, companies do not have time or resources or even money to invest in your career. I think that's really a hard one. Sometimes you get lucky and work with employers who have some professional development opportunities. But keep this in mind. The only time that they are going to invest in your career is when it serves them. So you have to step back and realize that you have to own your growth. You are going to have to invest in your business of one, developing its skill and its marketing abilities throughout the entire career. Gone are the days where you go to a company, spend your whole life there, and don't have to think about it anymore. Nowadays, it's on you to develop on yourself. Okay? I hopefully wish that these 10 real rules have made sense to you. And what you are really taking home from this is that career growth is 100% on you. And sometimes you first hear that and you go like, you know why, I went to school, I got my degree, why my career, why can it be easier? But I'm telling you, it doesn't have to be that hard. Once you learn how to build a strategy and execute on it, once you surround yourself with the right resources, the right people, and the right tools, and also the right information, everything's getting easier. And that's what we are going to talk about next. As I mentioned earlier, I've had the privilege to work with thousands of people to make a turnaround in their career through our premium private coaching program. So our focus is to transfer this career building expertise to you via a highly compressed monthly advisory. And in this program, you're going to get the highest level of private consulting engineered to design a life of your own term. So in the first month, you're going to have 3 days, 2 hours intensive, extensive, and deep analysis session so we could learn you and know what you want in your life. Then you get access to a community of like-minded professionals. We call it the high member player. And one of the most exciting things about this, when you talk about LinkedIn today, is not a social network anymore. It's just a social marketplace. People are not networking or connecting anymore on this platform because LinkedIn is free. And anything which is free nowadays, you are the product. They are selling you advertisement. People are marketing you things in your field, but it's free. When you come into high advice, you are with a bunch of other individuals who are proactively choosing to invest in themselves. These are people that want to grow their careers and they understand that they've got to help each other. I want to talk about 3 phases that you need to go through in order to be a truly exemptional business of one. Phase 1 is all about your job search. In this phase, we are going to teach you how to get most out of your job search. First of all, we're going to teach you what a modern job search really looks like. We're going to help you understand recruiters and how to attract their attention. We're going to help you understand how to target the right opportunities and stop wasting time on the wrong ones. We are certainly going to teach you how to write a compelling resume and a cover letter, and most definitely show you how to build that LinkedIn profile, because that is an essential website for your business of one. We are going to talk about sharing your skills and your strength more efficiently. We are going to teach you how to navigate the interview process and, mostly importantly, network effectively in the right way to ask for help. Once we are going to master job search, we are going to move into phase 2. And this is all about selling yourself to the employers. You've got to sell your services with competence. And that means creating a really strong personal brand, that reputational management. That is identifying and overcoming the challenges. Maybe it's ageism, maybe it's that you have a gap in your employment. There are aspects of your brand that you are going to need to effectively deal with. You're going to want to stay motivated when things get tough. And that's a big part of being a member of High Advice, because we don't want you to quit. You've got to power through things like bouncing back after being rejected. And certainly mastering the employer's relationship, how to deal with your boss. Identifying the red flags in the hiring process. Something may be telling you something is off. Knowing the HR, how they work, and even negotiating salaries, rises, and promotion. All these aspects are aspects of your brand that you need to understand well to do well. And of course, phase 3 is all about succeeding on the job once you get there. Developing yourself as a top employee takes a lot of work. You need to know how to start your job with a lot of confidence. You have to make sure that those first 90 days are stirring. Most companies evaluate you, and you should understand the roles and expectations and make sure that you exceed them. You should also go to build a strong relationship right on the gate with your team. You are going to have to tap into their expert and get their support. You are going to need to navigate tricky work situations that come up, like the office politics, obvious. You know how to manage your boss's needs and develop your own leadership management skill. How are you going to start positioning yourself as a subject matter expert or even a potential manager of the people in the future? Most importantly, really tailoring what you want to get out of this job so that you can build upon it in order to go after your next career goal. So you take a look at all these 3 phases, you see everything that is involved, and you go like, oh my gosh, that is a lot of work. But that's exactly why we build this intensive private coaching, and we are here to help you with that. So you waited till the very end of this and you deserve a reward. Anytime someone invests time, energy in really listening and learning, especially when it's an important information like this, where you have a lot of aha moments and you start realizing, oh my gosh, I've got like 10 new rules for career success, and I've got like 3 phases that I've got to take my business of one through to be successful and competent in the market today. That's a lot to take in, and we really want to capitalize on that momentum. We want you to keep going. We are going to reward you by giving you a really deep discount on our private consulting program. Usually our private clients invest up to 120,000 per day, which is basically 8 hours to get our services. But this high-priced fee structure has never been designed to be cost-effective way to access this high large advice until now. In this special program, we have discounted you up to 75% discount of our daily fee rate of 120,000 shillings, bringing it down to 30,000 for 6 good months program. And the good news is, if you enroll today, like click the link below right now, you could have another 10,000 discount, and you get the whole program with only 20,000 shillings. The whole point of this is to get started now. Things change every day, whether it's COVID-19 or just something happening to your business of one, or even something going on in your personal life that makes you change your career. We always change our careers, and we know that, and now you know that. So take advantage of these discounts below and get started with us and see what this private coaching can do for you. I promise you, you're going to be blown away and you're going to enjoy each and every minute of it. So listen, I want to say thank you so much for taking time to listen to this masterclass. And again, I really hope that you got a couple of great aha moments out of this, that you are understanding what's happening out there right now. It's a reality, and this is how it works. These are new rules to career success. And now that you know them, then you can do something about it. And of course, if you join our private coaching program, we're going to help you do something about it much more faster, easier, and like I said, with much fun in the process. So I do hope that you join us, but if you don't, just saying all the best, and you can do this. And remember what we always tell everyone here, that if you want to gain, you've got to work on it right now.